Hey guys, Chef Nick Petersbond here, and this is Come In Your Kitchen. On today's episode, we are going to be making my entry into a Chefs of North Shore competition. And this is sort of like a CHOP style online competition that different vendors have generously donated their products, and then we have to use 2 of the products in each course. So there's an appetizer, an entree, and a dessert. Today I'll be sharing with you my entree entry to the competition. So for today, the mandatory ingredients that I have to choose from are Smithfield products. I have Smithfield bacon, I have Maple Leaf Farms Duckbreast, I have Rumson's coffee rum. If you haven't tried it, it's delicious. These are all local places as well. And that's a local distillery in Massachusetts, and it's delicious. That rum. I also have Ghiradelli dark chocolate, and then, what am I forgetting? Oh, I have a porcini pasta that I have to use as well. So I need to use 2 of those things in each round. So today I'm going to be using Maple Leaf Farms Duckbreast, the coffee rum, and the Ghiradelli dark chocolate. So I'm using 3. You don't have to. You know what I mean? I'm just above and beyond. Go the extra mile, just like my college said, Southern New Hampshire. Go the extra mile. Okay. By the way, great school. Lots of fun there. Maybe too much fun. Oh shoot. Oh well. Well, here we are. I'm alive, barely, and we're going to be doing a recipe with duck breast. So I think this is also killing 2 birds with 1 stone. It's a great recipe in general. Well, if I do say so myself. But it's also a great way to show you guys how to use duck breast at home. I feel like the key to duck breast is keeping the skin dry before you're cooking, scoring the skin, and then slowly rendering it. And I will show you that entire process, and let's jump right in. We're going to be making a coffee marinated duck breast with a coffee mole sauce and roasted root vegetables. So without further ado, let's jump into it. Okay guys, so we are going, I'm breaking my island, just so strong. We are going to be starting on our coffee mole recipe. So this recipe is adapted from a recipe that I used to make at a restaurant that I was the executive chef at. And it was a braised short rib taco that had a pumpkin mole on it. And it was just like so bomb. Like, I feel as though mole is underrepresented only because it is, well, it has like 800 ingredients, most recipes, and they do take a long time. Mine is definitely a quicker, shortcut version. And today I'm blessed to be using Kaha Coffee Roasters ground coffee, and well, I ground it. It is their roasted coffee. I'm going to post a link down below. It's kahacoffee.com. They sell whole bean roasted. They were generous enough to send me a burr grinder that you can see on my Instagram, which is at Chef Nick Petersbond. I do a little unboxing, talk about the company. Not sponsored, it's just a really nice product. I know the owner, and it's local. Well, to me, because I'm in Massachusetts. Who knows where you are, but go to the website, Kaha Coffee, see if they deliver to you and see if you can carry it at your stores, all my chef friends and all that kind of stuff. Great product, very versatile. It's coffee, we all know what it is, but it's delicious. So, anyways, mole. So today I'm not going to be doing my pumpkin version, but I did pull out my old recipe book from the restaurant that I worked at, and I was like, oh my god, memory lane. And a lot of my recipes I find, not that I'm saying they're timeless, because I'm not saying, well, they're timeless. You're right, they're timeless. They stand up, because I feel like whenever I write my menus for restaurants or anything, I always like to have a little bit of something, and you have to make sure your dishes are well balanced. So I feel like anytime you do a dish, the balance of flavors is so important. I feel like mole is a great way to get a lot of flavor in a sauce, or in, one stop thing, because you're getting spices, you're getting a little bit of sweetness, you're getting savory. It's all sorts of stuff that you want. So my version is obviously a little bit less complicated, it's not as authentic, so don't take this as an authentic mole recipe. Don't come for me. If you don't want me to call it a mole, I'm so sorry, that's what I'm going to call it, but I'm calling this a coffee mole. There are so many other ways to make a mole. Like I said, I have done pumpkin. I've seen people put so much random stuff that has a purpose, but random stuff in a mole. So today, my mole has onions, garlic. Get ready for the list, because it's wild, but this is an easier version than a typical mole, and it's fast, so as you'll see. And all my exact amounts will be listed on my Patreon page, which is basically a place that you can get exclusive, I always say early access. It's not early access. You're getting exclusive recipe content that I'm posting nowhere else, basically. So for the Chefs of North Shore competition, I'm using the Ghiradelli dark chocolate chips, which I could literally eat the entire quart container they gave me if I didn't cook with them. And then I'm also using, what else am I using from that? I'm using the coffee rum and the marinade for our duck breast. But we're going to start in the mole because that's going to take the longest. So when you're cooking anything at home, start with something that takes the longest and then work from there. That's just good time management. So knife skills for a mole aren't necessarily the most important, as long as everything's evenly cut. Don't worry about how big. Well, it'll take longer if it's cut bigger, but everything's going to be blended and then strained anyway. So I have 3 garlic cloves, 1 onion. I have some of my daughter's little baby bell peppers that I roasted. You could use jalapenos. I got the heat from other places, which I'll explain. A lot of the times you could do jalapenos, guajillo chilies. I did chili de arbol in some vegetable stock that I have rehydrating and reconstituting. You don't have to use that kind of chili, but I'll show you what I do. You make it your own at home. You know your taste buds better than I do, so if you think something's too spicy, not spicy enough, that's not authentic enough for me, pop off. You edit a recipe. I always take people's recipes. When I was younger, I'd always take people's recipes as face value. Okay, this is what they made. Now, that sounds great, but how can I make up my own? So don't always feel like you have to do exactly what I'm doing. Use recipes as guides, you know, flavor guides. Okay, I want to make the pumpkin mole Chef Nick was talking about. That sounds great. That's a great one for the fall time. I mean, this dish could also be really good in the fall anyways. Anything with duck and roasted root vegetables and all that sort of stuff is perfect for the fall time. Costa Produce, a company out of Boston, was generous enough to give me literally 3 giant boxes full of produce. So I'm gonna be using some of that in today's video, including the carrots and some beets, which you will see, as well as some parsnips. So I'm gonna bring you guys closer to the stove so you can see me starting the mole, because that's gonna take the longest. So without further ado, come on in, and let's start the mole. So I have as you can see, what would you call that? It's an all-clad pan, but it's deep-sided. That's the word I was looking for. Put about 2 tablespoons of vegetable oil into the pan that's been heating up on medium-low. And my cat, oh my god, you are nuts. Come here. This is like the cutest kitten ever, but she's gonna be the bane of my existence. Can you go play, please? She has to, like, whenever I'm doing video, she has to be involved. And I'm like, okay. All right, so our whole garlic cloves, our sliced onion, and our roasted peppers are gonna go in the pan. So we'll get that sauteing. And in terms of spices, there's so many different ways that you can do a mole. You know what? I'm gonna push you out a little bit so you can. Oh, fuck. Sometimes I just can't with myself. Okay. Hi. It's like filming is like I need a film crew. Shoot, I need my own show. Food Network, holler at me. It's too much. Okay. So you still can't see my face. I feel like I'm damned if I do, I'm damned if I don't. You can see my gut if you want to. So I'm sauteing that in the pan over medium heat, and then I'm going to throw in our spices. Since we're doing duck breast, I did want to do a little bit more warmer spices, but just like in my pumpkin mole recipe, which I can share that actually probably on anywhere really, Patreon or not, if you're interested in that. But there's a lot of spices in here, and that's where you're gonna get your heat, your complexity of flavor in a short amount of time. So paprika, chili powder, oregano, cinnamon, cloves, etc., etc., etc. Yeah, it's a lot. So we're gonna toast those up along with because I think toasting spice is really important. You can obviously use whole spices and grind them yourself, but today ain't nobody got time for that. On Mondays, I have my daughter. I don't have my daughter, she's my daughter all the time, but my husband's working and I'm off, so it's her and I all day. So it's actually really nice because her and I get to spend the entire day together and play and do whatever, and she's so much friggin' fun. I need to have her back on my channel again. So the smell is like intoxicating already. Something about onions and garlic and on top of all the spices that I just put in there, and those are just gonna toast up and get even better. And then because you don't want this to burn. You're going to want to deglaze / add in canned roasted tomatoes. You can use fresh tomatoes, you can roast your own. This is an at-home friendly version for us parents or anyone really, the home cook that doesn't have time to be... I'll stop talking for 1 second. That doesn't have time to be roasting and, you know, doing all these things and grinding your own spices, and I God bless anyone that has that kind of time. I think I'm not in a restaurant right now, so it's a lot harder for me to do that. I work as a caterer, so catering is a little bit different of an animal than restaurant work is, but by all means, use whole spices, do you. You know what I mean? Do whatever works for you and your household. I feel like we can almost get close. Is that better? Wow, Nick, you did it. Oh, okay. I'm too much sometimes. All right, so now I have our Kaha Coffee Roasters ground coffee. This is their Kia Kaha blend. It's one of the darker side because the tasting note said coffee, or it said cocoa malt and full bodied, and by smelling it, it smells very dark roasted, which would be perfect for this dish. So I'm gonna add in, it's about 3 tablespoons of ground coffee. And don't worry guys, this is all gonna be strained out in the end. So the tomatoes are in, the coffee's in. I have a little bit of, this is chicken base. You could use bouillon. This just is, again, this is a cheating ingredient, shortcut ingredient for a chicken stock. If you don't have a roasted chicken stock, again, you can make your own chicken stock from scratch. You can raise your own chickens. There's a lot of things you could be doing from scratch, but guess what? We're here, oh shoot. So chicken base goes in. Then you're going to add in, this is the chili de arbol and the vegetable stock in a bay leaf. I'm gonna turn this up a little bit. And that is gonna go in there. Stir this around. So we put our tomatoes, our vegetable stock, our chilies, our bay leaf in here. We are now going to add in, this will sound crazy, but it's all a part of the complex process. Raisins, you can use golden raisins, currants, whatever you got. Honestly, you could probably use craisins in this recipe. It really just adds sweetness, richness to the dish. And then I have sesame seeds, as well as I'm using toasted sunflower seeds. You can use papitas. You could use, which would be great in the pumpkin mole version. I think I garnished my tacos when I did that with, Jesus Christ, am I just so tall? With pepitas, I'm using sunflower kernels. I have them, that's what I'm gonna use. You could also use walnuts, pecans. A lot of different nuts are perfectly fine in this recipe. So those are going in. And then I am using the Ghiradelli dark chocolate chips today as my mandatory ingredient, one of them, but you could also use a Mexican chocolate. This is Abuelita. You don't have to use this brand. There's so many different brands. Mexican chocolate, just a little bit coarser, has a slight spice, cinnamon kind of vibe to it, so that's like a very traditional ingredient to use, but I'm just showing you I have this. You can use it. I'm going to be using Ghiradelli dark chocolate chips, which also are very complex in flavor. If you haven't tried those, it's a great product. So I'm going to let this simmer, let everything kind of cook down, and then while that's working, we're going to be using our Costa produce. I have carrots, beets, and parsnips, which are hearty root vegetables that will hold up to this dish. So I'm going to do a time lapse of me prepping the roasted root vegetables and then making the coffee marinade for our duck breast. The Rumson's coffee rum is going to be my second mandatory ingredient for this recipe and this like little competition I'm doing, which I'm really excited about. It just lets out your competitive side, and you can also be like super creative, which is really fun. So I'm gonna pull you in closer for that, time lapse that so it's quicker so I can stop blabbing about it, and then we'll come back. Alright guys, so I have my air fryer root vegetables in the air fryer. They were going to roast them, but I can say, you know what? I can get them done faster. In the air fryer, I just toss them with vegetable oil, salt, pepper, and a little bit of dry thyme. I don't want to go too crazy with the flavors because we have a lot going on otherwise. So we have our duck breast marinating in our Rumson's coffee rum, some fresh thyme, garlic, a little bit of star anise. I'm going to pat these completely dry, and then I made a quick rub with our Kaha coffee roaster. This is our Kia Kaha blend. It's a darker roast. Salt, pepper, Chinese 5-spice, etc., full amounts of my Patreon per usual. So I'm going to pat these dry, My mole is going to be blended, and then we're gonna check on our vegetables. All right, guys, so our duck breast has been marinating for about a half an hour in our star anise, fresh thyme, Rumson's coffee rum, salt, and fresh cracked black pepper. And I'm going to pat that completely dry. That's the one thing with duck breast if you're gonna make this, or any duck at home, for breasts and searing, is you want them to be very dry. Because there's so much fat already on the duck breast, you don't need any extra moisture. You want it to get crispy, you don't want it to be soggy. That's nothing worse than that. I wouldn't suggest going more than a half an hour on the duck, mostly just because I haven't done this before, but also because you can see it's already started taking on some of that dark color. I don't want it to be too overpowering. I want it to be a nice essence of coffee and not, you know, wild. With that said, we are also going to, I made a quick rub with our Kia Kaha blend of the coffee roasters. That's our locally roasted coffee. Some dried thyme, salt, pepper, Chinese 5-spice, etc., etc. I just heard our vegetables. They are done in the air fryer. I decided to air fry them instead of roasting them in the oven just because it's so much faster and they come out super crispy. So as you can see, our duck breasts have taken on some color from the rum, and we are going to pat them very dry. And I also scored them before, as I showed you. You don't want to go too far. That's a little far on that one. Don't go too far down on the skin. All right, we're going to take our rub and generously coat those. And these are going to go into a medium-low pan. You don't want to start them too hot. The fat will start rendering off, so it's kind of like a low and slow type deal just for the skin side. You can almost cook almost the entire duck breast skin side down and then just kiss the other side. Kind of like you're doing a piece of salmon almost. Sometimes I do that if you have skin on salmon. So rub that all in there. Set this aside while your pan is preheating. Okay guys, so I just blended the mole. It looks super smooth. It smells really good. And we have our duck breast that we scored, marinated, patted dry, and then rubbed with our dry rub. And we have our pan, our dry pan, preheated. So it's medium low right now. Wow, it smells really good. Just any chefs out there just like surprised when you make something that smells good. You're like, oh, that looks really good. Or that smells really good. Anyways, we're gonna let these go low and slow. You don't wanna let them go. You'll see the fat start to come off, and if it becomes too much for the pan, drain some of it off into like a safe container, obviously, and set it aside. The less amount of fat you have in the pan, the crispier your skin's gonna be. All right, so as you can see, I did drain off some of the duck fat that's been in the pan. You just take your pan, tilt it, strain some off. As you can see, these look like beautifully caramelized. They almost smell caramely from the rum, the sugars in the rum. So I'm gonna flip these now, and I'll let these go for like an additional 5 minutes on medium low, and then rest them for about like 10 minutes. And then we'll plate it up and eat it. All right guys, so I went ahead and plated the duck. I let it rest for about 5 or 6 minutes, and just to kind of let the juices kind of come together. I let it cook for an additional, maybe like 5 minutes on the other side, the meat side, the flesh side, and then I let it rest, and it's like a medium rare. I strained the mole and put that on the plate, as well as garnished it with some herbs from my husband's garden. All the herbs are starting to come in, which is really exciting and really nice to garnish with. So that's it. Fairly simple. I know the mole has a lot of ingredients, but I feel like you can really make it your own at home and add some stuff to it. Like I added pumpkin puree in the fall and make a pumpkin mole. I added coffee this time around. There are a lot of different ways you can play around with it and take a classic sauce like that and then just really, if it's possible to elevate it even more, you can, because it's really such a flavorful sauce to begin with. But that was kind of my little shortcut mole. I hope you enjoyed today's video. Give this video a big thumbs up, subscribe to my channel. You can follow me on Instagram at ChefNickPetersBond as well. And as always, guys, you got this.